Melania Trump has always seemed mysterious. People have been interested in her story for years, since she went from living in a small town in Europe to living in the White House. A lot of people have made guesses about her marriage, her life, and what's really going on behind her quiet exterior. She is now 54 years old and talking about her past. She is ready to clear up things that were only stories or guesses before. What shocking facts might she tell? How did these new facts change the way we think about the Trump family and their time in the White House? Melania Trump, whose real name is Melania Knauss and was born on April 26, 1970, in what is now Slovenia, grew up in a very different world from the one she would later accept. Viktor Knauss, her father, used to be a driver before he sold auto parts. It's likely that his links to the League of Communists of Yugoslavia were good for the family, in some ways in their village of Sevnica. Her mother Amalija worked as a pattern maker at a company called Jutran that made clothes for kids in communist countries. At the time, the Knauss family stayed in housing that was run by the government. Still, their apartment was pretty well taken care of. The brightly colored walls made it stand out from most apartments of that time, which were dull. Even though the Communist Party publicly opposed religion, Melania and her older sister Ens were baptized as Catholics in secret. This was a common act of defiance in Yugoslavia that showed the gap between what the government said and what people believed in their own lives. She also had an older half-brother from a former relationship of her father's, but she never met him. She was a part of the neighborhood fashion scene from a very young age as the daughter of a factory worker. Melania often took part in children's fashion shows. Sevnica was known for its textile industry. These early experiences on the runway probably made her want to become a model. She loved fashion from a young age and learned from her mother how to sew and design her own clothes. This real-life experience taught her the basics of designing and making clothes, which came in handy later on in her modeling career. Melania has always been interested in learning and did very well in school as a youngster. She was even elected as the school treasurer at that point. Her family moved to a two-story house in Sevnica, which made their living situation better. Even though Melania grew up in a communist country, she was very interested in American society. She saw Ronald Reagan's presidency as a sign of change and hope for the future of her country. She became more and more interested in American and world politics when CNN International first came out in 1985. It let her family see American movie and TV shows. Melania became more interested in the West because of this, and it set the stage for the life she would one day live. Melanie made a big move when she was 15 years old and moved to Ljubljana, the city of Slovenia, to go to the secondary school for design and photography. At first, she took the train every day from Sevnica to Ljubljana, but after the first year, she and her sister Ines moved there forever. This move put her in touch with the fashion world and paved the way for her future job. Melania went to the Faculty of Architecture and Civil and Geodetic Engineering to study design after she graduated at age 19, not long after. Though her job as a model quickly took over and she stopped studying, Melania said she had a degree in design from a university in Slovenia, while her husband was running for president, but reporters couldn't be sure because they couldn't find any proof that she had been to college. In more than a year, Melania's trip was not like any other. She made her own way from tailoring clothes in a small state-run apartment to being on the pages of high-fashion magazines. What problems did this driven young woman from Slovenia face in the modeling business, which is very competitive? How about we take a better look? Melania started modeling when she was only 5 years old, but it wasn't until she was 16 that people really saw how good she was. Stein Jerko, a Slovenian fashion photographer, saw her at a school fashion show and started her career as a model. Melania used to want to be a fashion designer, which is an interesting fact. Her early love of design would later influence both her modeling career and her business ventures. She got her big break when she won a modeling contest put on by the Italian company Chai. The prize was a part in a movie, but she turned down the chance after a director made inappropriate advances. Melania kept working on her job. She changed her name to Melania Knauss and started looking for work outside of Slovenia. She took trips all over Europe to add to her resume and learn more about the business. She made a big deal in 1992 when she came in second place in the Jana magazine Look of the Year contest. The winners got modeling contracts all over the world, which opened up new opportunities for Melania. She joined forces with Arvo Reclaim in Milan, but the relationship didn't last long. Only a few months, she traveled a lot in Europe over the next few years and got a number of modeling jobs that helped her improve her skills and build her image. One of these tasks would turn out to be very important. In 1993, Melania got a job as a model, and she played the part of the first female president of the United States. Looking back, this role seems strangely prescient now that she is first lady. By the time she was 23 or 24, she was making enough money as a model to be able to live in Paris with Victoria Salad. She kept building her portfolio and name while being immersed in the exciting European fashion scene in 1995. When she met Paolo Zampoli, co-owner of Metropolitan Models in Milan, things took a big turn for the better. Melania's potential impressed Zampoli, who also knew Donald Trump. He told her to move to the United States and offered to manage her there. She would have a big change in her life and work. After this meeting in 1996, when she was 26, Melania made the big move to New York City. She moved in with photographer Matthew Atanian. After Zampoli helped her get settled, they shared an apartment at Zindorf Towers in Union Square. Like many new models, her rent was taken out of the money she made with Zam's agency. This is standard practice in the business. Making the move to New York City would mark the start of a whole new part of Melania's life. Melania stood out from many of her model friends because she lived a disciplined life. She watched what she ate, stayed away from parties, and worked hard at her. Couldn't be sure because they couldn't find any proof that she had been to college. In more than a year, Melania's trip was not like any other. She made her own way from tailoring clothes in a small state-run apartment to being on the pages of high-fashion magazines. What problems did this driven young woman from Slovenia face in the modeling business, which is very competitive? How about we take a better look? Melania started modeling when she was only 5 years old, but it wasn't until she was 16 that people really saw how good she was. Stein Jerko, a Slovenian fashion photographer, saw her at a school fashion show and started her career as a model. Melania used to want to be a fashion designer, which is an interesting fact. Her early love of design would later influence both her modeling career and her business ventures. She got her big break when she won a modeling contest put on by the Italian company Chai. The prize was a part in a movie, but she turned down the chance after a director made inappropriate advances. Melania kept working on her job. She changed her name to Melania Knauss and started looking for work outside of Slovenia. She took trips all over Europe to add to her resume and learn more about the business. She made a big deal in 1992 when she came in second place in the Jana magazine Look of the Year contest. The winners got modeling contracts all over the world, which opened up new opportunities for Melania. She joined forces with the RVR Reclaim in Milan, but the relationship didn't last long, only a few months. She traveled a lot in Europe over the next few years and got a number of modeling jobs that helped her improve her skills and build her image. One of these tasks would turn out to be very important. In 1993, Melania got a job as a model, and she played the part of the first female president of the United States. Looking back, this role seems strangely prescient now that she is First Lady. By the time she was 23 or 24, she was making enough money as a model to be able to live in Paris with Victoria Salad. She kept building her portfolio and name while being immersed in the exciting European fashion scene. In 1995, when she met Paolo Zampoli, co-owner of Metropolitan Models in Milan, things took a big turn for the better. Melania's potential impressed Zampoli, who also knew Donald Trump. He told her to move to the United States and offered to manage her there. She would have a big change in her life and work after this meeting in 1996 when she was 26. Melania made the big move to New York City. She moved in with photographer Matthew Atanian. After Zampoli helped her get settled, they shared an apartment at Zindorf Towers in Union Square. Like many new models, her rent was taken out of the money she made with Zam's agency. This is a standard practice in the business. Making the move to New York City would mark the start of a whole new part of Melania's life. Melania stood out from many of her model friends because she lived a disciplined life. She watched what she ate, stayed away from parties, and worked hard at her. Melania's path to citizenship also brings to light an interesting part of US immigration policy. As a legal citizen, she could help her parents. Viktor and Amalija Knauss come to the US through a process called chain migration. During his presidency, Donald Trump spoke out against this system, which let citizens bring close family members to the country. Many people were interested in the Knauss immigration because even though the Trump administration tried to limit family-based immigration, Melania's parents were able to become US citizens in 2018 as First Lady. Melania also made history before her. Louisa Adams, who was born in England, was the only woman in the part who was not from that country. In addition, she was the first legal citizen to hold the job, which is another unique part of her amazing story. Melania Trump's background as an immigrant caused both attention and debate. On the one hand, her story sounds like the standard American dream. She came to the US as an immigrant, worked hard, and rose to a prominent position. On the other hand, her husband's strict views on immigration made things difficult and sometimes uncomfortable. Because she came from an immigrant family, Melania and her son Baron kept their Slovenian citizenship even after they became US citizens. This dual citizenship shows how complicated immigrant identities can be, since people often keep ties to their home country while also loving their new one. Melania often talks about how she immigrated and focuses on the formal steps she took to become a citizen. Sometimes her story has been used to praise parts of the US immigration system, And other times, it has been used to criticize them as First Lady Melan's past, as an immigrant, gave her a unique view that might have helped her bridge cultural gaps and share her own experience at the highest level of government. A lot of people have different opinions, though, about how much she used her background in her job, and whether it was a big part of her efforts. Trump and Melania first met at a party in New York in September 1998. Thanks to a friend they both had named Paolo Zampoli, Trump was on another date at the time, but he became interested in Melania right away and asked for her number. They asked for his number instead, which was a brave move by Melania. Trump gave her some of his personal phone numbers because he thought she was trustworthy. A week later, they went on their first date. Melania stayed calm the whole time, maybe to keep Trump interested. She also saw a lot of similarities between Trump and her father, which might have made her feel better about the new bond. Trump and Melania's friendship had good and bad times. They broke up for a short time when Melania saw Trump's ex-girlfriend, Kara Young, leaving Trump Tower. But they got back together within a week as they got to know each other better. Dating Trump gave Melania more chances because of his fame. She was able to make connections and find work, and she thought Trump was more polite than many of the guys she had met in the modeling business. In 1999, they went on the Howard Stern show together and answered some very personal and bold questions. This made their romance public. It was a turning point, and the media started to pay more attention to Melania as their relationship grew. Trump took Melania to business meetings often to show off how beautiful she was. However, he kept her out of the business meetings because of his troubled relationship with his first wife. When Trump announced in October 1999 that he was running for the Reform Party's presidential nomination, Melania backed him because she saw herself as a standard first lady, like Jacqueline Kennedy or Betty Ford, as an unusual road. The idea of a model becoming first lady got a lot of attention from the media when news spread that they were breaking up in January 2000. It was a big blow to their relationship. There were different stories about who started it, but they kept in touch and got back together a few months later. Melania got her green card in 2001, which confirmed her position in the United States. The next year, she moved in with Donald Trump in Trump Tower. There they were on their way to the Met Gala on April 26, 2004, Melania's birthday. Trump asked her to marry him. Later, he said that the fact that she wasn't pushing him to get married made him more ready to do so, and he credited her with his recent successes. Melania Trump and Trump got along better than any of his other wives. She quietly supported him while keeping her own confidence. She went to Paris with Anna Wintour and André Leon Tallys to find her wedding dress, which she eventually chose to be designed by John Galano. People were excited before the wedding because she wore the dress on the cover of Vogue. They got married at the Bethesda by the Sea Church in Palm Beach, Florida on January 22, 2005. Their fancy party at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate was planned by Melania and event coordinator Preston Bailey. A lot of famous people like singers, athletes, media executives, and TV personalities were there. Melania only had one girl, and it was her sister Ines. The Trumps split their time between three homes after they got married: Trump Tower in New York, Trump National Golf Club in New Jersey, and Mar-a-Lago in Florida for her own use. Melania had a spa built on the top floor of Trump Tower. They lived close to each other but not together, so they didn't spend much time together. Trump said this plan worked for him because he didn't want to think about the relationship. When he got home, Melania was okay with this situation and took care of Trump without thinking of herself as a gold digger. She often showed up for a short time at Trump property parties before going back to their private home. Melania didn't push Trump to learn her mother language, and she called herself a wife who doesn't bother her husband when she told the world she was pregnant. It caused a big stir and led to her second Vogue cover she was modeling before she got pregnant. So it was brave of her to pose in a beanie and an open coat while she was pregnant. During her pregnancy, Melania focused on her family. She spent a lot of time with her sister, who moved to New York to be closer to her, and was happy when her parents came to visit. Often, they were a big help to her as she got ready to be a mom. During this time, she was able to get in touch with her roots and start a new part of her life. When Melania helped set up a nursery in Trump Tower, it showed that she was determined to be an involved parent from the start. Her baby shower at FIO Schwartz, a toy store, was an important event. In her pregnancy, she did something very special by asking that all the toys and gifts be given to a children's hospital. This choice showed her sense of social responsibility and her desire to use her status to help others. It also hinted at the charitable work she would do as First Lady. Baron William Trump was born to Melania and Donald Trump on March 20, 2006. Donald picked the first name and Melania picked the middle name. They chose his name together. Donald had used Baron as a fake name when he was pretending to be his own public relations agent, which made the name of their son more personal. Melania's life changed a lot after Baron was born. She spent a lot of time raising him and stopped going to many of the public events she used to go to with her husband. This choice showed how committed she was to being a hands-on parent and how much she wanted to give Baron a safe and caring home, even though they had a famous family life. One interesting thing about her parenting was that she didn't use nannies very often. Unlike many of her friends, she insisted on raising Baron by herself and only asked for help sometimes during Baron's early years. Melania's hands-on approach to parenting made her stand out and showed how much she wanted to be a part of her son's life. Donald Trump had made it clear that he wouldn't be involved in daily child-rearing tasks, so her commitment to mom was in line with what he wanted. Melania agreed, but she told him she didn't want him to change Baron's diaper or put him to bed. This arrangement worked out well for both of them. With Melania taking on the main part of caregiving as Baron got older, Melania put more of her attention on being a mom and stayed out of the open eye more. This change made her relationship with Donald worse. And rumors said that he started seeing other women during this time, which made Melania feel bad. But it was said that she didn't know about the women who later said they had affairs with him. Donald has 4 children from past marriages. Donald Jr., Eric, Ivanka, and Tiffany are from his first marriage to Ivana Trump, and Eric and Ivanka are from his second marriage to Mara Maples. Melania became their stepmother while she was dating Donald. Melania became very close to Tiffany, who was only 6 years old at the time. Melania made sure Tiffany felt like she was a part of her step-family, which showed how much she wanted to bring them together. Melania also helped Baron learn about different cultures by teaching him both English and her mother language, Slovenian. This grew out of her own experience as an immigrant, and she wanted to teach her son about both societies. Her time as a mother had a big impact on her job as First Lady, especially when it came to protecting children. Her Be Best program, which focused on health education and problems like bullying and drug abuse, showed how dedicated she was. She cared so much about being a good mom that she put off moving to Washington, D.C. so Baron could finish his school year in New York even though she was busy with public life. This choice showed how much she cared about giving her son a safe home life. Melania started her own jewelry line, Melania Timepieces and Jewelry in Zero. This was her first step into business. This move showed how entrepreneurial she was and how good of a designer she was. The line was sold on QVC and included costume jewelry and fashion watches that ranged in price from $30 to $200, so a lot of people could afford them. Notably, Melania Trump decided not to use the Trump name for her brand. She wanted to make her own name for herself without using her famous husband's last name. She told reporters they were wrong when they called the brand and Melania Trump, which showed how much she wanted to make her own name after living in different areas like New York, Palm Beach, and Paris. Melania got ideas for her jewelry line from those places. This mix of cultural factors helped her make designs that were both sophisticated and based on her own life. Her first collection sold out very quickly, which showed that she had a great sense of style and could connect with people this early. Success showed that she knew what was popular in fashion and could create a brand that people liked. Building on this success, Melania kept putting out lines of jewelry that people loved because she was an entrepreneur and paid close attention to details. She was able to grow her brand and keep a strong position in the fashion world. Melania took another big step to grow her business in 2011 when she started working with skincare products. She started Melania Mark Skincare, a line of skincare items with caviar in them. The use of caviar, a pricey ingredient usually found in high-end food, helped her skincare goods stand out in the beauty market, which is very competitive. This move showed how ambitious she was and how well she could spot profitable opportunities in the high-end beauty market, adding to her long history as a businesswoman, even though her skincare line ran into problems. Melania showed strength and drive. Her legal battle with New Sunshine, the company that was supposed to make her goods, was over a breach of contract that involved claims of special treatment. Melan's claim for $50 million in lost sales showed how important her business goals are to her. The case was solved in her favor, but the exact terms were kept secret. This showed how dedicated she was to protecting her business interests. Melania finally ended her jewelry line because she wanted to focus on family and being a mom, but her business ventures were still an important part of her life. They showed how creative she was, how smart she was as a businesswoman, and how she could use her fame to make goods that did well. She worked to separate her personality from her husband's by branding herself with only her first name. These projects showed how entrepreneurial she was and gave her useful experience that would later affect her job as First Lady. Her experience in branding and design helped shape her public image in the White House, which helped her manage her public image and the causes she backed in a smart way. Her work in business also helped her understand business problems and economic issues better, which gave her a broader view of important issues during her time in the White House.